was captain of one of the houses. And it gave me responsibilities with a number of transgressions that could be committed by boys, that you could give them what they call an imposition in order to get them to know that they mustn't do it again. And that was write me 50 lines from this book or that sort of thing. But it gave you an ongoing operation to see the reaction on their side and to measure how far you can go and what do you need to do to really get a change.
Were you also involved in sports?
Oh, Lord, yes. Too many. I was 5 of them.
What did you enjoy the most? Which sport?
I enjoyed cricket the most, and I was nearest to national ambitions when I had to leave to go to Harvard, because the time when you ripen is about from then on, a little further. So Jackie Hendricks came to the front and he became the national wicketkeeper. But the one that I did best in was a rifle, where I had a Jamaican national record for the small bore, 22 caliber, 199 out of 200. It stood for many years.
Okay. You went to Harvard. I think you went there initially with dreams of becoming a nuclear physicist. Is that correct?
I was fascinated by the world that was exposed to me at the time of the war when the nuclear bomb was exploded. And I sent abroad and got a book to read more about it. And I was fascinated by the whole business of the planets and the molecules and the atoms all having this action and reaction on the other. And that's why I looked at nuclear physics as something that I would be very interested in. But it didn't turn out that way, because to get to the point where it gets interesting is a long haul. And I was too impatient. I wanted something where my brain could be used early and I could apply it with my own thinking, not to be learning of what others did. Although they were important, of course, very important. But I wanted to put my own brain to work. So I switched to the social sciences.
Why? Why the social sciences?
Well, it gives you a chance to use your surrounding as the drama, as a theater, and to determine people who are part of that drama or that comedy or that excitement, fits up into pieces of the personality, and together they are a unit in a society. And with all of that, they also practice a culture of their own. And in all of these things, you get feelings that not only enchant you, but you get feelings as to what you would like to see done.
You're an expert in Jamaican anthropology. That is, an expert of human societies, cultures, and their development. On your return to Jamaica, after leaving Harvard in 1953, I gathered you got a grant fund, which sent you off to do a study on Jamaican spirit cults.
Yes.
Right. And that is how you ended up in Buxton Town? Is that it?
No. I'd already been to Harvard and come back. And I read one morning of a lady who had arrived in Jamaica, who was one of those people who could foretell the future and was said to be able to be receptive to spiritual talk and that sort of thing. And she was in Montego Bay vacationing. So I decided to go down and to talk with her. And when I went down, and it's a lucky thing that I did, I saw it all in action. The waiters and everybody wanted to touch her. And if she would please hold us a 2 and 6 piece, or anything that they could get to take away a handkerchief and all that. A celebrity. So I got a chance to talk to her about what I was doing. And she was very pleased to hear that because they had not known anything about Jamaica's spirit world. And they were on their way to Haiti. They'd only stopped off in Jamaica. So she said, well, come with us to Haiti because we're going to learn about voodoo. And I went. It was only for 2 or 3 days. It was actually making arrangements to go back. And I went with them. Didn't get to learn too much because it's a short time. But I saw how much attention was given to that local religion and how it was held in such awe that it made me wonder if we would ever come the day when our own feelings for Zion and revival, Pocomania, would ever be accepted in that way and looked at as a national religion. And that's why I came back to practice with it.
Okay. And you went to Boxton Town. Boxton Town is close to Bogwalk in that area.
Yeah, between Bogwalk and Linstead.
Right. What was it like in Boxton Town?
What a lovely little spot. It's one of those spots that you dream of when you think of country. You know, you want to go somewhere like in the country for a weekend. Every kind of fruit tree. Little ridges, little gullies, little plains and little lanes. And such wonderful people. I had a time of my life in terms of exploring the people's life, how they lived, and they could get to ask me questions as to how I lived. So I was teaching them and they were teaching me. And it was a wonderful occasion.
I gather when you were in Boxton Town, when you just got there was some amount of anxiety because you drove a black Vauxhall car at the time. And the children were afraid of you. And you noticed that they were always running away from you. And then what did you find out? Why it was that they were taking that approach and hiding from you?
Well, when that happened, I reported it to the lady who was a teacher, retired teacher, and the postmistress who lived in the community, had 2 little girls. Her husband lived in Kingston and worked. And I told her about it. And she said, well, what were you doing while they were running away? I said, I had some sweets in a bag and I was giving out the sweets. She said, wow, that made you a black heart man. I said, what's a black heart man? She said, a man who goes around giving out sweets, drives a little black car and catches the children, take them away and cut out their heart. I said, my God. Next thing somebody come and report that I'm trying to capture them. So I had to suspend everything for a while and think out a new strategy. And the new strategy worked because I was of great use to them with that little car. And I took them on expeditions to Agricultural Society fairs and things like that. And I went around interviewing the householders, mostly the ladies. And I did my work and they did theirs. It was such a lovely place.
You worked and lived in the community, which was not the norm. But at that time, we found out something else about you, which is that you like roasted jackfruit seed and that you also play the mouth organ. I gather you used to sit with them and play music and stuff.
Yeah, my father used to play the mouth organ. And I took it up. And I could turn a good tune on it. Unfortunately, I would love to have played other instruments, but I didn't have the luck with the left hand.
How do I say?
I used the mouth organ wherever I was. I carried one with me.
Mm-hmm.
And on this occasion, I went up into the hills above Boxton Town, where the men were working in their farms. And one man was digging holes for planting the yams. And what you do on that day, when you're digging holes, you get everybody else to come and dig with you. So it's called a digging sport.
Yeah.
And when they're doing it, you return the gesture. And then when you're digging, they're singing digging songs. They don't have any instruments, and they don't use instruments, just their voice. And they make a sound that gives you a rhythm. We had a great time. So much so that at the end of the evening we had to have a little white rum. Now, for me, I've never had white rum before. I took my portion of it. I felt it all the way down to my toes. And when we were leaving, coming off the hill now, I was in the front playing the mouth organ, and the men were behind me, sort of not marching, but jogging down and singing. And it was a lovely occasion.
That could have been a precursor to your involvement in the music industry. I gathered you put out an album in 1955 of ethnic songs, and then you started your own label, WIRL.
Yes.
A label that was successful. It put out in 1959 a song by the duo of Joe Higgs and Roy Wilson, Manio, which sold a whopping 30,000 copies, I'm told.
I'm not too sure about the number and how that compared, but the people tell me that.
Mm-hmm. I wanted you to listen to the song and tell me the memories that it brings back for you.
American music. As in Jamaica, click on the invite thing.
Oh, Manio, why did you go? Why did you go? You leave me alone, lady. Please come home. Please, please, on me. Let me roam. Oh, Manio.
What does that bring back for you when you hear that blue beat?
I got talk to politics later.
It's a very unique beat. Matter of fact, one of the top artists today came to us to ask if we could use the rhythm, and we made a deal with them. Assassin.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't go directly into that form of music. What happened was I decided to get into the music business when I did the albums that came out of my folk experience. But those kind of albums just did not sell. The public wasn't interested. Mm-hmm. And they kept asking me, the people behind the counter, what about Johnny Mathis? What about this one and that one and all other favorites? And I said, well, if that's the case, I may as well import those. And I started to import them, and they went like wildfire. Mm-hmm. It was a very good time for me. Mm-hmm. But it was also about a time when Jamaican music was beginning to emerge. You could hear it not on the radio at that time, and that's important. But you had to go to places where the recordings were being played, and you'd hear the music.
All right. Let's get into. We try to get into little of the politics. Right. Today we are going to dive into into the scandal bag that is Hope Road. Right, we're going to dive into the scandal. We're going to try and dissect the scandal bag a little and make people see and understand that when we speak, yeah man, nah,